Welcome back to the Jet Press podcast. Jets are 0-1. It came in a very entertaining way, came in a very inspiring way, a way that will leave fans, I think, more excited about the year than even if they had won by a very slim margin. I think that this is a game where we do a lot of analysis and a lot of looking at stuff pre-game, how things are going to go. Pretty much everything that we thought was going to happen did not happen, and the reverse happened in this game. This was not a low-scoring slugfest like we thought it would be. This was a Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers shootout, and Fields was hanging right with them, but because of some special teams miscues, the Jets are 0-1. Aaron Rodgers has 4 touchdowns in a road win against the Jets, and Jalen Ramsey gets to talk as much crap as he wants after kind of clutching up and ending the game in a pretty cool way, admittedly. But the Jets are 0-1. But even then, and with the Bills looming, so 0-2 is looking like a possibility, there are so many things to be excited about with this game. And I don't like doing moral victories because they're 0-1, and I get all that. But we thought this was going to be a depressing slog where Fields struggled, and this may have been, circumstances and all, in my opinion, the best game of Justin Fields' career. And it was his first with the Jets. Hopefully many more of them to come. Thank you for tuning into the Jet Press podcast. Justin, before we get into more of the intros, how are we doing?
We're doing all right, Mike. We're doing all right. I don't know if it's the nature of doing this job, but I've learned to take the lows not as hard as I think I once did at a point in my career. As Austrian Jets fan gives 10 memberships. Thank you so much, buddy. That is one way for us all to feel better after what was
with those memberships, because the chats can get a little out of control sometimes on game day reaction pods. You can get your comments prioritized in the chat with those memberships, 99 cents. We'll start off with Austrian Jet fan, proud of this team and coaches. This was a hell of an effort, man. This was a hell of an effort. We'll get into that. You know where to find us, though. Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. As he also says, cut X. Oh, we'll get into that.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get into that.
We'll talk about
You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube. Subscribing, big help. Liking the stream, big help. 99-cent memberships, big help. All of that helped us make more really great content. Mm-hmm. Let's get into this game first. So my initial takeaway is,
and by the way, we will get to all of these comments as much as we can. So please keep leaving your comments. These post-game streams get hectic, as Mike said.
If you got the membership, we'll get to you. There's a big backlog of stuff that we'll try to get to.
100%.
If the Jets had won a slugfest 13-10, I might feel less optimistic about this team than I did after this game, because here, let's start at least with the good thing, because there were a lot more good things than I would have thought happened. Breece Hall looks completely different.
He looks awesome, dude.
He looked as awesome as I've seen him. Will McDonald, one of the best games of his career, just putting the whoop ass, dare I say.
No, for
Not
sure.
to get a little blue here, but the whoop ass on
he whooped some ass.
He did. Really, the entire front four. We were concerned about the depth up there. The front four was getting to Rodgers without pressure. And it really was as simple as when they got to Rodgers, they were good. When they didn't, they weren't. That's kind of the tail of the tape defensively here. Garrett Wilson looks as good as ever. We were concerned about the preseason. He looks like Garrett Wilson of old. The offensive line, I didn't hear a lot of Fashio. I didn't hear a lot of Membu, which I think is good. I think with the tasks they were given, that Steelers front seven, tremendous performances. Let's get into the star, though. I mean, my goodness, Justin Fields.
Hey, man.
Did anybody think we were getting that out of Justin Fields in this game?
Do we got a quarterback? Garrett Nussmeier who? Drew Aller who?
So Justin Fields in this game, and Tanner Engstrand too, because Tanner Engstrand, I want to hold back on Tanner Engstrand a little bit, because I don't think he was necessarily doing a lot of insanely creative things. I just thought there were a lot of simple, well-executed things, which is what you want to see. Fields, 16 of 22, 218 yards and a touchdown, with 48 rushing yards and 2 more touchdowns, including that little bootleg, that was awesome. That little scamper into the end zone, high stepping.
Dude, shout out JJ Watt called that on the broadcast, too. I don't know if you caught that.
He was pretty good in this game. I liked Watt in this game. I think he's pretty good.
Same. So
looking at this, overall, those are the good things that I'm happy with. Justin, I don't know if you have anything to add on that, because we'll get into the negatives first. But I mean, they put up 32 points on Mike Tomlin and the Steelers defense in week 1 of this staff. Like, you got to be impressed with that.
I mean, look, what we can glaze Fields more, but I want to talk about Tanner Engstrand because I
Yes.
know you said he didn't do a ton of creative stuff. I don't think he needed to. I think the fact that the Jets were able to go out there and score 32 points against one of the better defenses in football,
They punted twice.
Right. A defense that I think if you said they're top 5 unit in the league, I don't think anybody's batting an eye. The fact that the Jets were able to go out there with the offensive personnel that they have and score 32 points, there is no reason the Jets offense should have looked like as well-oiled of a machine as it did in this game. The blueprint that we saw for success with this offense is exactly what the Jets wanted to do going into the year. It's something that we had hesitation. I think we saw it a little bit in the summer, but we're like, Fields is going to have to do a little bit. The teams are going to key in on the ground game. Well, guess what? The Steelers did key in on the ground game, and it didn't matter because
almost 200 yards rushing.
Right. John Simpson was out there moving people. Olu Fashanu was out there moving people. Josh Myers.
Play, I think it might have been a Fields where he stepped up and threw it right there. The broadcast zooms in. Him just TJ Watt of all people.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
Down.
TJ Watt. It was extremely encouraging to see the offense punch above their weight class as much as they did. And we talked about this so much going into the year that, maybe we'll have a different conversation about the defense now, but we said going into the year, hey, we think the defense should be pretty good. Hey, I think the special teams should be pretty good. The Jets are going to have to overachieve on offense if they're going to be a playoff contending team or even an above 500, flirting around that 500 area. They're going to have to overachieve on offense. And to do that, you need coaching because Tyler Johnson is your wide receiver 3 and he's on your practice squad. Josh Reynolds is your wide receiver 2. Jeremy Ruckert, who, by the way, baby, forget all the things I said about Jeremy Ruckert. Pride of Lindenhurst right here. Jeremy Ruckert.
You know how I knew Fields was feeling because you brought up Tyler Johnson? That one catch Tyler Johnson had where it was across his body cover. I'm like, he's feeling it. He's confident.
Yes. Fields looked extremely confident out there. We could talk about Fields in a sec, but I just thought the offensive game plan was exactly what the Jets wanted to be. And they were able to execute it to perfection. They were able to lean on that ground game, establish the run early. Like you said, Breece Hall looked like Breece Hall. The AVT injury didn't seem to really cause major issues up front, at least not as much as I thought it was. I thought Josh Myers would have a much more difficult time dealing with Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton in the middle of that Steelers defense. And I thought he held his own. Fashanu looked very good. He had the one play where he overset and Highsmith beat him inside. But for the most part, offensive line looked great. They established the run
twice.
Yeah, and look, he was able to work his magic some of that. I do think part of it is hey, man, they got Justin Fields back there now. Even if the O-line gets beat, he might still be able to make some plays.
He had a 4-yard run with Patrick. He's just outrunning Patrick Queen. He's outrunning linebackers.
And what this does is it keeps defenses honest. And if you establish the run game as much as the Jets did early on, you open up shots that you could take downfield, which is how they got Garrett Wilson involved. We may have overreacted a little bit, Mike, in the preseason about how much of a non-factor Garrett Wilson might be just because defenses would try and take him away. If the Jets are running
to the secondary, certainly we'll get into that.
If the Jets are running the ball down teams' throat, again, this is one of the best run defense teams in the league. In theory, it should be. They were last year. If you were able to run the ball as effectively as the Jets are, defenses cannot take away Garrett Wilson as much as they would like to. And we saw that on that deep ball from Fields. And I pointed this out on Twitter too. For as much as, we didn't really see it in this game, but for as much as Fields has had issues with short passes and intermediate passes, his ball placement isn't always there. He's late to read defenses. His deep ball has always been very nice.
He has this reputation because every time there's a strong arm, toolsy guy who struggles, it's always, he's not accurate. He has
he has a very accurate
case. He's had that.
He has a very accurate
the ball out quick. He got the ball out quick today.
He was in 2023 with that Bears team. He had one of the, I think it was top 8 or 9 in the NFL and deep accuracy rate. His deep ball is very nice. So if you could open up that element of the offense, which they were able to do because they can lean on the ground game, that's when you're going to get Garrett Wilson open deep on a one-on-one shot against a safety. That's how you're going to get Arian Smith involved, even though we didn't see that as much in this game. We will see that added to the offense. So that was by far the most encouraging takeaway to me is we thought this offense would be one-dimensional, and it could be. If they can't establish the ground game and get Breece Hall going and get Braylon Allen going, then they're probably going to struggle on offense. But if they can, we've now seen what this offense can do, the ceiling of this unit, and it's higher than I thought it would be, Mike. That is
nobody had this team scoring 32 points.
No way.
Nobody.
If you told me Aaron Rodgers would have scored 4, I think he ended up with 5. Was it 5 touchdowns he threw? 4. Well, he threw 4, and at a point, he had thrown 4 touchdowns, and his team was still losing. That is,
and they probably would have lost if not for special teams goofs.
If it wasn't for Xavier Gibson, which we'll talk about in a second, if it wasn't for a ridiculous DK Metcalf catch, that is shit like that. It feels only happens against the Jets. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, it's over.
It's over. Yeah,
it's over.
And Boswell hitting a kick from freaking 2 states away.
Right. And honestly, I Boswell's a great kicker. I'm not surprised at all.
60 yards down the middle. Literally, he could have made that from 70 yards.
I think the Jets were the better team for a lot of that game. Obviously, that shit doesn't mean anything. And if you can't get stops late, it's not going to matter. And if you're making mistakes and turning the ball over like they did, you're not going to win football games. But I think it's extremely
first game ever coach versus Mike Tomlin, too.
Absolutely.
I thought Glenn did a good job
coaching. I thought Glenn did a good job, too. I thought the 2-point try was the correct decision, even if they didn't get it. I think there's so much to be encouraged about this coaching staff. But let's talk about the things that are not to be heard.
All right. So
because hold on, I'll set you up for it. The Jets made a few decisions this offseason where we kind of sat there and scratched our heads where we're like, look, man, heat check, right? Heat check for Aaron Glenn. They believe this is true. Every piece of evidence proves to the contrary that this is not true. But we're going to let it see, we're going to let it play out, see what happens. That was signing Brandon Stephens to a
ice cold right now.
3-year, $33 million contract for Brandon Stephens. The only player they gave a 3-year contract to this offseason. The only player they gave a multi-year contract to that wasn't Justin Fields, despite the fact that he was the most targeted corner in the NFL over the last 2 years. And you could argue one of the worst starting cornerbacks in football last year. I believe he had the second most yards allowed. And then there's the Xavier Gibson decision where, Jamal Pritchett, undrafted rookie out of South Alabama, outplayed Gibson by all metrics in the summer, and both as a receiver and as a return man.
It was very been out there anyway because Nwangwu.
Of course, unfortunately, Kenny Nwangwu got hurt, but Gibson was outplayed by every metric this summer. And then if you look back to what he did last year, led the NFL in muffs with 4, led the NFL in fumbles on returns with 3. He was the most problematic ball security return man in the NFL, and he didn't really combine that with big play upside. It didn't make a lot of sense to roster.
And he's not a good receiver.
And he's not a good receiver, offers nothing there either. So those two decisions where I look, Jets fans are right sometimes. Sometimes the masses and the consensus is accurate. And I do
sometimes the sheep are right.
At least based on this week 1 performance, they lost this game because of Brandon Stephens and Xavier Gibson. You could point to other things, but I think 2 of the most controversial and criticized decisions that the Jets made this offseason, that this coaching staff specifically made this offseason, they were exposed in this game.
Well, not only Stephens, like if you look at the secondary, Sauce was brilliant.
Yep.
There was a stat that was going around. I even wrote an article about it where he was the nearest defender, I think, on 15 of 16 coverage snaps for DK Metcalf. No catches allowed. As
Sauce looks like Sauce. He's awesome.
Classic Sauce. Every catch DK had Sauce was not on him. Yep. I think he might have 1 with him on him, but that was it. Sauce is as good as ever. This secondary outside of him, holy jumping shitballs at his bed. This is, dare I say, one of the bottom 6 or 7 secondaries in the league.
I don't want to overreact because I do think they still have a really good slot corner in Michael Carter, even though he had a tough game.
You say that, though. How many plays did the Steelers on 3rd and 7 get 9, and Carter's right over there?
There were a lot of plays, and I'm going to have to watch back the tape to actually see what happened, but there were a lot of plays.
Really quick, Aaron Rodgers asked about beating this. I was happy to beat everyone associated with the Jets.
I hate that because now I got to write about that.
We got to take it, man. Now we got to take this.
Well, I'm really glad, at least if this was to happen, that it's not like Rodgers looked great and Fields looked like shit. Like, nobody can make the argument that, they shouldn't have moved on from Rodgers. Look, Fields look great too. Like both teams should be happy.
That's what I'll keep coming back to.
Both teams should be happy with how their quarterbacks played. But as I was saying, like, I think a lot of the issues in this defensive secondary were just miscommunications. Like, there were not a lot of plays other than Stephens where anybody just got outright beat. Again, outside of Stephens, who outright got beat multiple times. Carter, he had the bad missed tackle. He also had a near interception where I thought he made a really good play where the Jets basically blitzed 8. They trusted their corners to hold up in coverage, and they did. And Carter nearly came away with the interception. Also, Stephens, dude. On top of the penalty and on top of the getting toasted on that touchdown,
turn your head around.
He could win that game if he makes that interception. You know, the one where he fell down.
Oh, my God.
I don't know how he ended up on the ground.
How does he not? Ugh.
I don't know, man. Brutal game for Brandon Stephens. And it would be more forgivable if it wasn't all of the exact same things that plagued him in Baltimore. Like, literally to a T, this was the scouting report of Brandon Stephens when the Jets signed him. It was,
you ever see Arrested Development when there's the thing dead bird inside? And he opens it up. I don't know what I was expecting.
It was like,
that's Brandon Stephens right now.
He's going to be in position. He's going to have tight coverage, but he's either going to not get his head turned around or he's going to get too handsy and grab the defender. We literally saw both of those things happen in this game. And another one where he wasn't in tight coverage, he just got toasted. So that is extremely concerning. That was your biggest offseason signing outside of Justin Fields. That was your biggest offseason signing. And I think, man,
that's a miss right now.
It's too early.
There's time, but that's a miss right now.
Right. It's too early, but with a guy like that who has the reputation he has, the hot seat should be hotter than it is for a normal free agent signing, especially when you just drafted a guy in the 3rd round in Azareye'h Thomas, who the Jets are very high on. They made that clear how highly they thought of him, and it wasn't a need pick. This was a best player available pick. Well, look, it might become a need pick if Stevens is bad. So if Stevens is struggling, I need to see the Jets make decisions. They're probably not going to make any moves after week 1, but look, man, if Gibson, like I would already make the Gibson move. I'm already promoting. If it's up to me, I'm elevating Jamal Pritchett and I'm releasing James.
Yeah, this is worthy of. You don't have a job on Monday,
and you're hoping Kenny Nwangwu is healthy. Maybe if Nwangwu isn't healthy, maybe there's a situation where they keep Gibson and Pritchett, and then they just elevate or they promote Pritchett to the active roster and they have them both back there. But either way, I don't think you can have Gibson be your top return man after he fumbled it twice in this game. Stevens, you invested too much. You can't cut him, or obviously you can't cut him, but you can't.
I do have more confidence in him turning it around than Gibson.
I don't. I don't. I know he had
Stevens is a better player at his position than Gibson is.
Not really. Not by that much. Stevens is better paid. Stevens is making a lot more money than Xavier Gibson. Everything I saw from Stevens out there tonight does not tell me that he should.
You know who else I think had a sneaky bad game was Sherwood.
Maybe it's tough. There was one where it was a cross.
Quincy was great. Middle. Sherwood, I think they were picking on a little bit.
Quincy was flying around out there. Quinnen was flying around out there. I thought Jermaine Johnson looked amazing. Brian put
absolutely yes.
I'll put this up there because we can talk about them. Brian and Chad said Quinnen and McDonald each had multiple sacks and QB hits. Jermaine wasn't officially credited with a QB hit. So that's surprising to me. But he had to have at least 3 QB hurries. Yeah, I thought all 3 of them looked great and extremely encouraging, specifically for Jermaine Johnson, who is coming off that Achilles. You never know how an edge rusher is going to look in their first game back from a torn Achilles. I thought Johnson looked fantastic out there. And that is super encouraging for that defense.
So let's turn the bullhorn over to you. I got a big backload of comments I want to get to, but they're all good ones. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Vinicius Cristello, which is a hell of a name. We're a real cornerback 2 away from a 2-score win. One of the worst games I've ever seen by
a Jet.
Okay, it's not that.
Okay.
No, I think he's referring to Stevens.
Oh. I thought you meant this was. I'm like,
no, like Stevens specifically.
The bars are way too high for this.
Even with that, it's not.
No, it's not. Look, man. You've seen Kyle Wilson play football. You saw Buster Screen play football. You saw Marcus Williams play football. You saw who else? Darren Walls. You see there are
so many. Just
plenty worse cornerbacks over the years. I mean, Brandon Stevens had a rough game, though. I agree. I think if Stevens has even a respectable game, yeah, they win this football game.
Dabmaster 227. Why do we keep a player that has 10 career fumbles over Jamal Pritchett? I don't know.
Because apparently, according to Aaron Glenn, he had fielded 145 consecutive punts without muffing it in practice. However, there was multiple seasons of tape proving that in the games, he's not very sure-handed. So I don't know if those practice stats matter too much.
Vinicius, again, if DJ Reed was still a Jet, this would have been an easy W.
Yeah, probably. And look, it makes it worse because Reed didn't get that much more than Stevens. Like, they were never going to re-sign Reed. That was made very clear, I think, by both sides. But it's pretty rough. They gave Stevens as much money as they did, and he looks like exactly the same player he did in Baltimore last year.
Vinicius, again, I'm angry, but at least they made me care. And then Brian.
I'll say this really quick. Yep. If Brandon Echols starts that game for the Jets, I think they win. Echols is a better.
There's a lot of cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Brian Sternbeck. We don't remember Brandon Stevens like another BS Buster Screen.
You know what? I'm gonna go even further. And this one, now that I just thought about this gets my blood boiling. If Jarek Bernard-Converse started that game for the Jets, they win that game. I feel very confident saying that.
So we got Austrian Jet fan, proud of the team and coaches again. I just want to get that up there again. Cisco. Not even upset about this. It hurts, but to hit a 60-yard field goal is not easy.
That's how I feel.
What are you going to do about that, man? It wasn't even in that target line on CBS.
Yeah, the 60-yard field goal combined with the butt catch, the one that it's good. What's so funny is Sauce is going to get credit with both a pass breakup and a catch allowed because technically he allowed the catch, even though it deflected off another Steelers receiver. Those two things happening, the Gibson fumble. I mean, stuff like that happens, it's unfortunate. And I know it happens all the time in the Jets. And I know there's no moral victories. And I know you don't want people sitting up here and talking and saying, hey, look, well, at least they didn't get blown out. Like the bar should be higher. I get it. But you have to look at the big picture here. The Jets aren't going to win 12 games this year. They're probably not going to be a playoff team in all likelihood.
Maybe they were a home underdog.
Right. Maybe they will be. I mean, I think they did cover. I think after this game, I will adjust my expectations a little bit. After seeing this, I'm not thinking 5-6 wins. I'm thinking, hey, man, why can't you win 7-8 games?
The negative part of me is like, we just got the game of his life from Justin Fields and we didn't get a win out of it.
Sure. Well, look, we've seen Zach Wilson play at a high level before. We've seen it. He
against the Texans
against the Chiefs and the Chiefs. Remember the Chiefs game?
And the Chiefs, yeah.
He outdueled Patrick Mahomes in that game. Legitimately. He was better than Patrick Mahomes
time.
In prime time. So we've seen it before. Like, we don't want to jump the gun here with Justin Fields, but extremely encouraging first game for Fields in this entire offense.
Dab Master again, please cut X. Penalties weren't as bad as I thought.
No, the penalties were down. I for both teams, I thought it was a pretty
They let
clean
him
game.
play.
For a week 1 game, this was a very clean game for both sides. Again, from a Steelers perspective, if there's any Steelers fans in chat, you have to be encouraged by Aaron Rodgers as well. I thought Aaron Rodgers looked very good. I thought he looked like the version of Rodgers that the Jets saw at glimpses of last season when he was protected and when he was in a better situation, when he had time to throw. You still see the immobility. You still see the age showing up on tape with Rodgers. It's very evident. I mean, I don't think some of those sacks the Jets got in this game are going to be sacks with Josh Allen next week, which that concerns me, especially because I think the tackling discipline and the gap discipline of this defense wasn't amazing at points. So I'm a little concerned about how that's going to manifest next week with Josh Allen. But again, if you're the Steelers, you have to be encouraged with how Aaron Rodgers looked. Some of it I think was just coverage breakdowns, but when he got time, he could still sling it, which we know that.
Austrian Jet fan Breeze. And
awesome, man.
To follow off on that, Vinicius, the Steelers front seven is no joke. Our run game is actually elite.
Yeah, it looked awesome. And again, the other thing to consider here is this was Tanner Engstrom's first ever game plan. Teams have absolutely no tape on him. They did not know what. I mean, obviously you have an idea of what to expect with this offense. You knew the Jets would probably try to establish the run, but you don't know the specific ins and outs of it yet. As the season goes on, and you see this all the time with young play callers, he's going to have to continue to adapt and continue to change what this Jets offense looks like, add new wrinkles in. But as a first game goes, Mike, when's the last time we saw a Jets offense look this good in week 1? It's been
never, not week 1. No,
week 1. Like for a first time play caller, you could not have asked for a better start. Like that is so encouraging. Hold on. You think like the other, I made this prediction when I was watching the game to the friend I was watching it with. What if Engstrom is so good and the offense looks so good that he gets a head coach job after the season? But what if that head coach job is in Miami and you bring over Mike McDaniel and he's your OC next year?
What
do we think about that? What do we think about that?
Because as we've seen from this week, he's not a head coach. He's a good OC, but
no, dude, what a disaster!
Wow, that was bad.
God,
Brian Sternbeck. If week 1 is to be believed, Muji really did fix the defensive line at the buzzer. Unfortunately, the secondary appears less fixed.
That's a very good tape. Absolutely, we were concerned about the D-line depth, and I think Harrison Phillips did a really good job. I mean, and we also know. With an Aaron Rodgers led offense in 2025, you're probably not going to try and run the ball that much. And I think Steelers fans should just expect that that's what it's going to be like
Caleb
this year. Caleb Johnson got like 2 touches the whole game. He was barely out.
Gainwell was the starter.
Gainwell was playing just as much, if not more, than Warren.
And he didn't even gain that well. So Reggie Dukas. Gibson gave up the game.
God, man.
Jesus Christ. I apologize. I'll do
You
better.
should. It's okay. It's all right.
Gibson gave up the game. Skinner should have made the team.
I don't know about Skinner, but Pritchett should have made it. The other is Tyler Johnson made a good contested catch, which, the upside with Johnson coming into the Jets. I remember I wrote about this in the Jet Press. He's been very good with contested catches throughout his career, which is why I'm very glad we haven't talked about this. The Jets made the decision to make him wide receiver 3 over Allen Lazard. That was a bit of a surprise today that Allen Lazard was a healthy scratch. I think that was absolutely the correct decision because I don't think there's a significant blocking downgrade from Lazard to Johnson. I thought Johnson had a really good block on that Breece Hall screen pass to the right in the first half. And we saw it. I don't think Lazard makes that catch that Johnson made in traffic. I do not think Lazard makes.
He had his hands on it, but he dropped it. Yep. 2 from our member Dabmaster227. Watt is a much more natural announcer, better than Brady. Yeah, I agree 100%. With that.
Watt was good. I liked Watt.
Yeah, Brady is okay, but he should not have.
Fine. He doesn't
got the number
natural.
1 because he's.
I think Dabmaster hit it on the nail on the head. He doesn't look. He doesn't sound natural. Brady does not sound natural out there. I thought Watt did.
It just sounds very cliche.
Watt is very comfortable in the broadcast.
Brady's like if you told you always teach these AI bots to do stuff. Yes. If you train one on 20 years of just what you say, the generic speech. Brady will spit it out.
Brady is ChatGPT. If ChatGPT was an announcer, that's.
And then Dabmaster again, first round safety.
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs, yeah, come on down.
Caleb Downs, 10th overall.
Come on Downs. I can't stop today.
Buddy, Caleb Downs in this defense. Oh my God. Don't get me excited.
This is Pat A. How do you win games with a bottom 5 secondary unless you're scoring 30 a game? It seems like the ceiling is 6 wins.
I don't think they'll have a bottom 5 secondary. Maybe that's too optimistic on my part, but I think with a team that has Sauce Gardner and Michael Carter. I don't think he had a egregious game. There was a couple of bad missed tackles, including that one on the Metcalf screen that was rough. But I think Michael Carter is still a very good player. And if he's not, then you're in trouble. But if you have two high-level starting cornerbacks, there's no reason you should have a bottom 5 secondary in the league, even if your other starting cornerback is ass cheeks and your safeties are also garbage.
Rob Serafinowicz, Membu lived up to his draft status today. People should be excited about this O-line, even with the AVT injury.
There were a couple of growing pains for Membu early in that game. He got beat across his face by Watt, I think twice, but also it's
that's a tough for anybody. That's
right.
Tough.
But also it's TJ Watt. And yes, I think the entire offensive line as a unit played excellent. I'm gonna have to watch it back. I thought John Simpson fucking balled out. I thought Simpson had an awesome game. There were so many times where
Myers I thought did okay.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Myers held his own too. Like there were so many times where like the Jets running left is going to be the bread and butter of this offense because Fashanu was moving dudes. And that was something that, like, we know he's going to be solid in pass protection like that. He had all the DeBrickashaw-Ferguson comparisons coming out of college, like such a sound, technically sound pass protector. But it was how much can he move guys in the run game? And I thought out tonight or today, he was doing that. And John Simpson is just like a bulldozer, man. He was there was on one of those, I think it was on a Fields run. He pancake block Cameron Hayward to the ground. He was moving dudes out there all game. Very encouraging performance from the offensive line, even without Elijah Vera-Tucker.
In case you're wondering, by the way, 10-0 Packers in the first Aaron Glenn-less game for the Lions.
Ooh.
So,
Lions, were they Tanner Engstrand merchants? I don't know.
At this, I feel Bears fans are watching that like, dude, who really was behind all this?
Right.
Ivan Wilson, Brandon Stevens' shoes must have had banana peels on them.
It was a slippery turf, but yeah, man, he was tough. Rough game for Stevens. Really rough.
Bishop game. Judas, not going to be easy from here on. At some point, losing is not acceptable. Yes, but like,
yeah, context matters.
They scored 32 points against the Steelers.
Yeah, I understand why Jets fans, after decades, years of torment and losing and moral victories, don't want to hear about moral victories right now. I get it. And you're not wrong for feeling that way either. I'm just, we're trying to have as much perspective as you could possibly have and understanding what the context of this game was and what the context of this season is. Anyone expecting, 12 wins is going to be disappointed. I do understand though, why after this game, like this was a tough loss. The Jets, I thought, deserved to win this game in so many ways. There was just a couple of things that happened. Xavier Gipson, Brandon Stevens, where it's just like, man, if those things don't happen, they probably win.
Pat A. Brandon Echols played 5 times better than Cisco and Stevens combined.
Did Cisco make any notice? He had one where he took a bad angle, I think, on that Metcalf screen, but did he edit it?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Okay. Were there any other like noticeable mistakes? I forget. I don't remember anything.
I don't think so. Maybe I gotta watch it again.
Like I am concerned about the Jets safety duo. I think they're going to be one of the worst safety duos in the league. You need Cisco to be better. Like Cisco,
Malachi Moore time.
It's going to be Malachi Moore time sooner than later. Which I will say his biggest issue from the preseason was taking poor angles, not wrapping up, and kind of just Jordan Whiteheading all his tackle attempts. You can't have him doing that, especially because that was, I think, the issue with the Jet safeties in this game. They weren't really beat downfield. But yeah, I think Malachi Moore will be stepping in for Tony Adams probably sooner rather than later. Cisco, you need him to be better. 2023 Cisco, if they can get that version of Cisco, that's all right. That's a respectable starter.
Jonathan Gaucher, Mr. Negative over here.
No.
Coaching staff gives people like Gibson spelled incorrectly, the roster sport spelled incorrectly, despite not earning it in camp. And again, it cost them. Same old spelled incorrectly. Jets.
Well, when
did the mock draft start? Because that defense was trash against a team with one wide receiver / weapon. I don't think that's true. The Steelers got more than one weapon. They got more than Metcalf. Yeah. Fryermuth, Jonnu.
Metcalf's the big guy.
Well, yeah, but it's not like the Jets, where the Jets have one weapon right now.
I would say the Jets have more weapons. They have Brees. If Brees is looking like that,
yeah, okay, I get passing game weapons.
If Brees is looking like that, man, they got multiple weapons.
I guess maybe receivers, tight ends, I'm thinking.
Look, some of that's fair. And I'm not going to be the guy that's shaming anybody for being devastated about this loss because this sucks. Like, no one likes winning. And this was a really tough loss in a very winnable game. And, I know you want to see marked improvement in the form of wins because the Jets have had so many moral victories over the years, but I don't know. I don't want to be the excuse maker here and say that like everything's okay, but I don't think the sky is falling after this loss, especially, man. We're just
certainly not.
If we're comparing it, if the bar is what it's been set as with the previous coaching staffs and constantly underachieving and getting blown out, especially in week 1, I feel encouraged by this week 1 game. Maybe they come out and shit the bed next week. I don't know. Maybe Fields throws 3 interceptions. It's very possible. It's possible that the defense is as bad as they looked in this game. It's possible the Jets will have a terrible secondary. I'm just encouraged by certain aspects of it. And that's what I'm choosing to take away, as well as the negatives, which is, Yeah, man, they got a problem at CB2. They got a problem at safety. They got a problem at punt returner. Those are issues
fix
that need to be
everything
addressed.
immediately.
And they clearly also don't have a viable number 2 receiver that can receiving option even that can get consistently open. But hey, man, maybe that's Jeremy Ruckert. I don't
Even
know.
with that 32 points.
But even with that 32 points, but yeah, maybe
Brian
it's
Sternbeck, low key though, Engstrand's short yardage, just situational awareness. I'm sorry about that. Was pretty bad.
Partially,
he's not perfect. I mean, what do you
I'd
want
like
the guy
to
be?
I gotta watch it back. I'd like to know like what specifically you're referring to. I mean, some of it was, a lot of it was little option plays with Fields where he either just had to make the decision to himself to keep it, and a couple times he made the wrong decision, and a couple like they got stuffed on that Braylon Allen run on the 2-point try. I don't think that was a bad play call. I think if the Jets tried to get cute there, everyone would be screaming, "Wow, just you have Braylon Allen, just run it up the gut." They tried it and they got stuffed.
Yeah,
there's always gonna be things you can nitpick, but I think as an overall job with the offense and even in the short yardage situations, I don't think it was particularly awful.
Like we've seen bad teams going into the year that were supposed to be bad, like some of the Wilson teams. Like this and that look totally different. I think absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Brian again. Braylon Allen had 1 8-yard carry and 5 other carries combining for 1
yard.
Yeah,
he didn't do much. He did not do much. I mean, I don't know how much of it was, him running against stacked boxes and Breece just had more open running lanes.
I think when the Steelers, whenever Braylon came in, they're just like, oh, well, he's not going to be a pass catching.
That's a great point. So. That is a great point. I think the Jets are going to have to vary their personnel usage a little bit because it's very clear what role each player in that running back room has. And it's how they used them in the preseason too. So we shouldn't be surprised. Isaiah Davis is the third down back. He will not play on a down that is not a passing down or not a third down. Like he's going to play on all of those downs. Braylon Allen is the short yardage guy that they're going to put in the game when they expect the run between the tackles. Breece is the do-it-all guy who can, run those outside zones. He could also be a weapon out of the backfield, but it's very clear which defined role each of those running backs has. They'll probably have to diversify that a little bit, so to avoid becoming too predictable.
Richard Maccabee, we have so many negative fans. Maybe those are the people who sold their tickets to Steeler fans. There were a lot of Steeler fans.
Again, I'm not going to hate on Jets fans for being negative. I get it. Like, you've earned the right to be negative and to think same old Jets. Like, I understand it. I totally understand it.
Then we'll go next to Rob Serafinowicz. Hall was great, but the Jets still lost and have the Bills next week. He may be in demand at the deadline, and the Jets will have a very difficult decision. If he's like this, you don't give him up.
Yeah.
If you get this every week, you don't give him up.
If I made that prediction. It was one of my bold predictions that Breece would be traded by the deadline, but that was not made with the caveat of expecting that Breece
he's Adrian Peterson now.
Right, that Breece would look like this, and that Braylon Allen didn't do anything, right? So, I don't think the Jets would consider trading away Breece Hall if the running game is looking like how it just looks right now, because they need Breece. This version of Breece, the Jets do not score 30 points or even come close without Breece Hall in this game. I know people want to claim, the whole running backs don't matter thing. Just replace him with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. No, if the Jets did not have Breece Hall in this game, they do not score 32 points. They do not look nearly as good as they do on offense. And as a result, the passing game doesn't get opened up. Justin Fields probably doesn't look as good as he did. You need Breece Hall if he's playing like this. So it'll be very interesting to see come the deadline where they're at with him. There's still a lot of time. The deadline's in early November, right? They pushed it back. Yeah. So there's still
Fields, by the way, 0.38 EPA per play, better than Rodgers. Expected QBR 78.
He was great. I thought he was really good.
The throw to Wilson, that might have been the best throw I've ever seen him make.
And how about that with the deep ball, or which one are you talking about?
The touchdown.
Yeah, the deep ball. How about that pass? I believe it was to Josh Reynolds in between those two Steelers linebackers.
Oh my God.
They were sitting, and I believe
you watch him and you're like, oh, he's got a strong arm. But seeing it like this up close as a Jets fan, he's got a hose.
You had both Steelers linebackers sitting there in the underneath zone coverage. I believe it was cover 2. Just rips it between those guys. There's no reason that pass should be completed. And honestly,
Engstrand would never tell Fields to throw that pass.
No, it was honestly, if there's the Steelers could have absolutely got one of those linebackers, Queen or whoever, could have gotten a hand on the ball, but dangerous, risky as hell, but so much velocity on that pass. And that was honestly the most encouraging takeaway from Fields for me, other than the fact that I don't think he made any noticeable glaring mistakes, which is you got the upside of Fields without the downsides, that's something the Steelers, if you look at what he did with the Steelers last year, they would have dreamed of that. They didn't get that. Justin Fields just had a better game than any game he had with the Steelers last year by far. I don't even think it's close, because you had the secure, the safe of Justin Fields, although he had some fumbles with Pittsburgh, but the interceptions were cut down, but the upside was gone. Like he wasn't taking those deep shots. He wasn't as dynamic with the ball in his hands. The Jets got the best of both worlds in this game. And that is by far the most encouraging thing, as well as I was going to say, the ball placement outside of like the first pass that get to Garrett Wilson, like that little out route to Garrett Wilson, the ball placement wasn't great. Outside of that, man, like I can't even think of a play off the top of my head where I thought the ball placement was bad.
I can't think of one throw. I'm like, man, he got bailed out there.
Right.
Can't think of one.
The decision-making was fantastic and the ball placement was fantastic. And if you're getting that from Justin Fields, hell, man, like
that how many times did they have him dead to rights and he slipped out of it? 3 times?
Yep. Well, we know he could do that. Like that. The thing to me is like, we know
Rodgers can't do that.
No, absolutely
Rodgers can throw 4 touchdowns, but he can't do that.
The Jets haven't really had a quarterback that could do that. I mean, Wilson can do it in spurts. Darnold had some magic in him as well. We saw it.
Wilson could do it like if he saw it because he can move a little bit. Fields had guys on him and he just basically shook them off.
The Jets have not, I would say, in their history, had a quarterback, and very few teams have, as dynamic of an athlete as Justin Fields. They had washed Michael Vick. They had Tim Tebow. Like they've never had a quarterback.
Walker Michael Vick, not Atlanta Michael Vick.
They've never had this dynamic of an athlete at the quarterback position, and it opens up so much for the playbook, which is what we saw, and which is why so many of us were kind of pounding the table, to bring back that phrase that I messed up last time. They were pounding the table to sign Justin Fields this offseason. This is kind of what we envisioned, and clearly it's what the Jets envisioned as well.
We're going to go to Echelon Motion Pictures. Steelers fan here. Great game. I now have you guys finishing second in your division.
Hey,
there's something to be proud about and trust. Patriots suck, and Miami is Miami.
Did New England lose?
They lost. Only put up 13 points, too, against the Raiders at home.
So AFC East with a clean sweep in week 1 outside of Buffalo, who has not.
They played the Ravens.
Yeah, not played yet.
They could be 0-1. Everybody could be 0-1 at the end of this week.
It's possible the Jets are playing for the division title next week.
They were playing for the division title the week
division.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That was
I do.
What a year that was.
Yeah, man.
Kevin James taking a break from acting and directing.
Hey! Shout out SUNY Cortland, Kevin James.
Did he go there really?
Yeah, I don't think he graduated, but he went there.
Okay,
he's an alumni.
No.
He's an alum. We could claim that. Absolutely, we can claim that.
I'll claim Raiders great Menelik Watson because he
played
basketball. He played basketball at Marist for a year.
Cam Ward
and Jets legend Jason Myers. Marist.
There you go. Cam Ward went to Incarnate World. They definitely will claim him.
Well, but they can't. Kevin James, what are our chances of being 1-3 heading into October? Well,
so you got Bills.
Here's the thing. They play Buffalo next week.
Yep. Who they play? The Bucks. That's right. And then the Dolphins.
Bucks, and the Bucks looked really bad this week.
I think they can get 2 wins out of it.
I think they can beat Tampa.
I think
week 4 is Miami. Who knows?
I think they can beat Tampa and Miami. They're both on the road. I will say this as well.
Dallas at home too. After that, I think they can hang with Dallas.
It's possible the Bills make me look stupid and just blow out the Ravens tonight. And obviously, the Bills are a lot better of a team than the Jets. But if the Jets are able to punch above their weight class like they did in this game, they can theoretically beat any team in the league. Like if they are able to steal wins like they do, honestly, did you see
if they play at 80% of this?
Yeah,
I think they're like a 7-8 win team.
I agree.
If they get 80% of this every single game.
I'll also say this too. The Jets' game plan, their offensive blueprint. I don't know if you watched the Army game this week when they played Kansas State, right? Army beat Kansas State.
I did not watch the Army Kansas State game.
I was a sicko, and I've made a concerted effort to watch more college football this year. So I was watching Army Kansas State, and Army controlled time possession in a way that Army always does because they run the triple option. Kansas State had, I think, like 2 drives in the entire second half, and as a result, that's why they weren't able to end up. I believe that Army ended up winning that game. I know that the Jets aren't running a triple option, but the way that the Jets control time of possession in this game, if they're able to do that, they can beat any opponent, because doing that limits what Josh Allen can do. You take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, you give him fewer opportunities to beat you on defense because you control possession on offense. You can beat any team with that blueprint if it's working. If it doesn't work, the ceiling is low, because I don't know if, for as great as Justin Fields was in this game, and I would also love
don't expect this every week.
Right. And look, if he's playing like this, I'd love to see them open it up and give him more responsibility, because, while there was some responsibility on his shoulders in this week, it was very clear they were still trying to, there was a 3rd and 11 play in field goal range, and they're like, let's just give it to Isaiah Davis, right? There were certain times where if you have Patrick Mahomes, your quarterback, you're probably calling the offense a little bit differently, but the floor for the team is very high if you were able to run the ball effectively like they could in this game. And I think you could beat any team in the league if that blueprint is working.
Like the fear for this year was they just weren't going to be a real team and get smoked every week. Like they may have the same record, but I see I could be proven wrong again immediately, but very few just blowout smokings, first year of Robert Saleh type games.
This is a fair
next.
point, really quick, on from Brian, who said Justin Fields getting 5 yards on a QB sneak should have been the sign the Jets needed to keep trying to QB sneak in those spots. Yeah, I would like to see them maybe do that a bit more. You don't want him taking too many hits, but honestly, I feel like the sneak was probably even a safer play for him than like some of these scrambles where he's taking shots. Like he took a couple of shots.
He takes some hits.
He does, and Fields has yet to start a full season in his career. He's never had a major injury to this point, knock on wood, but he's been banged up at certain points in his career. So you want to avoid some of those shots, but I agree. Look, if they have a quarterback that could sneak it, they didn't have that with Rodgers. I'll tell you that. And they didn't really have it with Wilson too, because he was just too small, and he would get stuffed on a lot of those. But also they have an offensive line that can clearly execute it as well. So I would like to see them
push behind John Simpson. That is a high percentage play.
Absolutely,
I gotta
say. Get Ruckert in there pushing behind him. I don't know.
Let's go now to
we appreciate, by the way, all the comments. This has been a very, very fun stream. I don't know.
Very much so. We'll go back to Vinicius, a member here. Braylon Allen sucks at short yard situations. He better not. That's the only thing he's in the league.
He was not efficient in this game. Brian also put this out. He said that Braylon Allen was put in disadvantageous short yardage situations today. I got to watch it back because it didn't strike me on tape that that's true, but maybe I'm wrong. Look, again, I think a lot of it is predictability, and the Steelers are expecting when Braylon Allen is in on 3rd and 1. Well, what are you going to do? You're probably going to run it up the gut with Braylon Allen. That predictability, it hurt them, I think.
Sternbeck also says, did Simpson return to the game?
He did.
I think he did. Yeah, he did.
He did. Yes, he did. He came back there for that final drive.
Jonathan Gaucher, Big Show will embarrass that defense if that defense shows up. Not if he plays like he did this week against an Atlanta defense that isn't a world beater.
Did Baker struggle? I didn't see.
Threw 2 touchdowns, but it was like 50% completion. He was missing throws. He was running out of pressure.
I think
Ibuka had 2 touchdowns, and that kind of saved him.
I'm more concerned. I mean, not the
Jonathan says you can't do short yards from shotgun. Sure, you can. You just got to be creative enough.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Yeah, you totally can. Especially like when you're doing
all the time.
Right, especially when you're doing like the little read options, like you totally can do it. I'm most concerned about for this defense quarterbacks that are more mobile than Rodgers. Like I think that's going to be the bigger right, like a Josh Allen. Like I think that's going to be the bigger test to me to see where this front seven specifically is at, because they were able to get pressure and sack a immobile Aaron Rodgers, a statue, a guy who is basically just standing there. Like he's not going to really make moves outside the pocket. So they were able to consistently get pressure on him and take him down. I want to see if they have the discipline to be able to, like Will McDonald. He had 2 sacks today. Can Will McDonald have the discipline to sack Josh Allen? Does he have the strength to do that? I don't know. It's not just the Will McDonald take. That's a Josh Allen is a Superman take as well. But I think that's going to pose more of a problem next week than it did this week.
David Warner, Fields played his heart out, something to look forward to.
Absolutely. 100%.
Dab Master 227 is back. Every time he threw the ball, my heart stopped. Thankfully, he did great.
I'm not going to lie. I agree. When Fields was dropping back to throw and throwing over the middle of the field and intermediate passes, I watched enough Justin Fields games to be like, oh my God, he's going to throw a pick. This is going to be,
I kept waiting for the shoe to drop. And
right. I was waiting for it and it never did. The one where my heart really stopped was the Tyler Johnson throw, where it was like,
Reynolds too. I'm like,
ooh, and the Reynolds. Well, the Reynolds one was like, I didn't realize how insane it was until afterwards when they showed the other angle. And I was like, oh, well, that could have been picked. Like that went right through the Steelers linebacker's hands, but it had such velocity on it that I think even Reynolds, when he caught it, was surprised. He was like, oh my God, the ball's in my hands. I don't know what to do.
One prediction that I think is coming true, we both sort of hinted at this, is Fields is going to play just good enough where there's going to be a really nasty offseason debate about do we keep him? Do we draft a guy? If he plays like this, though, I think there's less of a debate.
Obviously, let's not get ahead of ourselves. If he plays like this, they're keeping Justin Fields. It's not even a consideration. They're not drafting quarterback. I don't expect him to play like this for the entire season. Like it would be a complete anomaly if he did. But maybe they've just structured an offense around him and played so much to his strengths that in year 5, he can continue to improve. Obviously, not everyone is Geno Smith, but you look at a Geno Smith situation where because people will also point to like Sam Darnold. I think Baker Mayfield and Geno are the best examples of this, where I watch Geno Smith play now, and he's such a different quarterback. Like I think Geno is one of the better.
He is one of the new ball knowledge tests.
He is extremely underrated.
Trevor Lawrence and
Dak.
Probably Dak.
Dak and Herbert as well.
And Herbert, yeah.
Geno Smith is, in my opinion, a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. And like, I firmly believe that. I don't think it's a situational thing. I think it is. He is genuinely a good quarterback right now. So it is possible. It is possible for players to get better, later in their career. And if the Jets are building an offense around Fields and they can play to his strengths, who is to say he can't feel comfortable enough in an offense that he's able to improve upon his weaknesses? That's what you want to see from Fields. I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm not expecting that to happen, but that's what you want to see happen. That is the blueprint for this season.
Three more comments I want to get to. Brandon R. Hopefully the defensive issues were communication issues and not purely personnel. Steve Wilkes is a good defensive coordinator. I think they'll get that figured out.
There were definitely a lot of communication issues.
Guys were wide open sometimes.
You need to see that get cleaned up. There were a few times where I saw at first glance, there were a couple of times where I thought it was on Stevens. There was one where it was a crosser over the middle. I forget it. It might have been Metcalf, might have been Calvin Austin, and Sherwood and Stevens both went to the same spot. And I would be very surprised if for some reason Stevens' responsibility was in the middle of the defense and not in the flats to the left where he lined up as an outside corner. I don't think Sherwood should be following the receiver there. So that looked like it was on Stevens. There were a couple of just coverage busts where that's where I'm not ready to say, oh, this is going to be a bottom 5 secondary in the NFL. That would surprise me. I just think a lot of it was, other than Brandon Stevens, who was firmly whooped in this game, I think a lot of it was coverage busts where you hope that stuff gets cleaned up.
Maddie JETS. So we'll do a negative and a positive. Right. There were lose by 2 points, and there are 2 failed 2-point conversions. Everyone is giving Glenn a pass, praising his aggressiveness.
Now, this is a process over results. If you have
everybody would have gone for 2 when he went for 2.
The correct decision to go there is to go for 2 in that situation. I know they didn't get it, but process over results. You go for that every single time. Any NFL team should be going for it in that situation. The statistical odds would prove that. And also, you've been able to.
If they kicked it and they lost, always being passive, it's solid.
I'll give you 2 reasons why. One, the statistical odds prove that absolutely, if you have a 2-point conversion attempt from the 1-yard line, unless there is a scoreboard reason you shouldn't do that, you should absolutely go for it. And number 2, if you want to look at situationally, the Jets are running down the Steelers' throats all game, right? So you have the analytics on your side. You have the ball knowledge tape that you're watching on your side. You go for it in that situation.
And then we got one more from David Warner. Steelers are a strong team. Some even say Super Bowl potential, and the Jets stood toe-to-toe with them. I think they outplayed them. I think they outplayed them.
I think the Jets outplayed the Steelers for most of that game. And dare I say, Mike, and this is not meant to be, because I just said that Aaron Rodgers played well. I think Justin Fields outplayed Aaron Rodgers.
No, this is the NFL, not Tecmo Bowl. We get that, and we are not changing our opinion, Maddie.
I think that a lot of Rodgers' yards came on blown coverage. Rodgers looked good. I'm not going to say that Rodgers didn't look good. I thought both quarterbacks played well. I thought Fields had to work more for his yards than Aaron Rodgers did. So that would be why my take. And I thought Fields had no turnover-worthy plays. Rodgers had one. Rodgers threw it directly to Brandon Stevens, and he dropped it. This game
catches the ball. Not only do they win, Stevens is one of the kings of New York.
Once again, process over results. The narrative is very different if Brandon Stevens catches that pass. The narrative is not that Aaron Rodgers, torched the Jets and won this game. Well, I think Rodgers played well outside of that. That is a bad mistake, a mistake that Fields did not make in this game. So I would absolutely argue that Fields outplayed Rodgers in this game, although they both played well.
Let's look forward to week 2, because the Jets have a game against the Buffalo Bills, who have not played yet because they play tonight against the Baltimore Ravens. And this is it's going to be tough, because I don't think they're going to win this game. They're going to be 0-2 at home. Mm-hmm. And they lose a home game this year because one of them's in London when they play Denver. So you don't want to lose 2 straight at home right off the bat and then go on the road to Tampa. However, and I know we don't like doing moral victories, they could be 0-2. And if they get anything like this, how do you not at least feel good about Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, Justin Fields just as a triad here?
Right.
Because, I was expecting fully to be 16-13, and we're complaining about quarterback play again. And when we're not getting that for the first time in a very long time, we're not complaining about that.
Not yet. As I think Jonathan's got a good game plan. He said aliens need to kidnap Allen. That'll do it. If aliens come down and abduct Josh Allen, and I think the Jets might have a win on tap.
The Mitch Trubisky plays, they beat him, I think.
Yeah, I would hope so. We know this season is not going to be about winning the Super Bowl. We know that. We know going in, the Jets are not going to win the Super Bowl. If they want a Super Bowl with this roster, that is the most improbable outcome in NFL history. It's just likely not going to happen. Maybe,
but this also isn't a blow it all up and tank for everybody year.
Correct. It is an evaluation year. It is a where are we at? How far along are we in the process? What does this roster look like? How can we evaluate this team moving into the future, into 2026, when the new regime has a chance to come in, do a full year of scouting. You have the new scouting department in. You get obviously they already brought in some of their guys, but you can bring in even more of your guys. You evaluate where this team is at. Based on that, yeah, you can lose 9, 10 games this year, 12 games even, and still be encouraged if certain aspects look right. I mean, if they go 5-12, if they go 5-12, I would be a little disappointed most likely, because that means even if things are going well and Fields looks good, clearly there's certain things that are wrong. Either that means they got super unlucky and they had another season where they lost a bunch of one-score games, which, if that's consistent.
Another game leading in the fourth quarter where they lost.
Like if they had a 2-score lead going to the fourth quarter.
And then in a minute they were losing.
Right. And
literally a minute of game time they were losing.
And thank you, Xavier Gibson, for that, right? But if that's a consistent thing, that's when it becomes hey, look, we need to address this and figure out why this keeps happening. It's one game right now with a new coaching staff, and we saw exactly why that happened, and it was Xavier Gibson was a big reason for it, and Brandon Stevens. But this is an evaluation year. But they might very well start out 0-2, and I'll still feel okay and possibly feel good about where this team is at moving into week 3. Eventually, the wins need to start coming, but yeah, I don't think that's not like a must-win going into Buffalo.
Matty Jets, again, what we need is to see less dumb penalties. Were there any dumb penalties in this game?
Not nearly as many. The Jets,
I think there might have been one personal foul, and I think when they were driving at the end.
Quincy Williams had a late hit, which he knew it was a late hit as soon as he did it. There was some it was a very chippy game as well. We haven't talked about that. This was a very chippy game.
I'm not looking forward to see what Jalen Ramsey has to say. I can tell you that.
Look, my take on Jalen Ramsey, and I've said this about him for his entire career. You can talk as much shit as you want if you back it up.
He backed it up.
That man has been a shit talker his entire career, but for 95% of his career, he's backed it up. At this stage of his career, he doesn't always back it up, but he did in this game.
He did today. Even the touchdown Garrett caught was on Slay.
Yeah, he made 2 plays in this game where he backed up his shit talk. 2 plays late in the game to win the game where he backed it up. If you're going to do that, then talk as much shit as you want. I was going to look up I want to look at the penalty numbers here because I don't think it was that high. The Jets had 7 penalties, 74 yards. A lot of that. 2 of that, I believe, was on Brandon Stevens. 2 of them. There was
and then one was the unsportsmanlike when everybody was fighting. And
one unsportsmanlike. There was the late hit on Quincy Williams. There was a delay of game as well, I believe, on Fields. There were not a lot of pre-snap penalties. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there was a single offensive holding penalty.
I don't think so.
I also don't think there was a single defensive holding penalty. There was just the DPI on Stevens. But yeah, like that. The pre-snap penalties were toned back. I don't believe. Oh, there was one. Was there one false start? I think there was one.
Maybe.
Yeah, there was a false start.
Interesting about the Jets
on Tyler Johnson. Actually, there was a false start on Tyler Johnson.
You know what was interesting? 182 yards rushing, right?
Yeah.
The longest run was 18 yards.
Yeah, it was all grinded out.
It was grind them out
and that's even more
6 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, over and over and over again.
And that's even
break one for 15.
That's even more encouraging because the way that Breece Hall looked in this game, he's going to break one of those. He will. He's a home run hitter.
So much faster than he did last year.
He is a home run hitter. We have seen Breece Hall hit the hole and break 80-yard runs. He is going to break one of those. So the fact that they were able to average, how many yards per carry did they average this game?
4.7.
4.7.
39 attempts, but some of them too were Fields 1 yard here or there. So.
They averaged as a team 4.7 yards per carry. Breece Hall averaged 5.6 yards per carry, and they didn't have a single run of 20 yards or more. That is so freaking encouraging, man. Oh my God, that gets me excited. Good. That gets me very excited.
One for each of the Will McDonald.
You look great.
Is such a good pass rusher.
And look, he played against Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones stinks. But it was nice. And
it was nice for him to do it against Broderick Jones, though.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Jets hey, I was more defensive of Will McDonald. I took a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I think at that point they were going for a Super Bowl. I'm at that point, go BPA, and then Achilles blew out.
My issues with Will McDonald were much more about the situation and less about the player. But I'm very happy to see the player doing well, and especially since what's our old friend Bryce Huff up to these days?
Who do the Steelers play next week? Seahawks at home. I think they win that.
Probably.
Seahawks at home, Patriots at New England.
I think Fields is going to look better than Darnold does in that game. I'm not very bullish on Sam Darnold in Seattle.
I'm not either, but like I don't want to be too bullish on Fields too because he's not going to have 3 touchdowns every game.
No. I'm just saying based on how
for crying out loud, how could you not be a little excited?
I'm not saying Fields will outplay Darnold next week. I'm just saying what Fields did this week against the Steelers is better than what I think Darnold's going to do against the Steelers next week.
First half's almost over, and Darnold is 7 of 10 for 72 yards against San Francisco. 17-3 Green Bay, by the way. Jordan Love is kicking the crap out of them. So
there you go. I saw Jaden Reed.
That could be good for Aaron Glenn.
One other quick takeaway. There was a drive late in that game where the Steelers kind of drove down. I believe it was right before the Xavier Gibson fumble where Quinn Williams was not on the field for a lot of that drive. And it looked like he was kind of just out of breath. I don't think it was an injury, but that kind of showed me. I mean, obviously we knew this, but boy, do they need him. Boy, do they need Quinnen Williams. But
he was all-pro Quinnen.
He was awesome out there. And the one drive where he was really not in the game very much, the Steelers drove down like all over the Jets and were able to actually run the ball, which is not something they were able to do for most of that game. They were able to efficiently run the ball. Quinnen Williams cannot miss time because this defensive tackle room, which we already knew, they improved it, but we already knew going into the year it was not going to be particularly deep. And yeah, if Williams is not in this game, or if Williams is forced to miss any time, yeah, I would have major concerns about the Jets' ability to not only get home and get after the passer, but to stop the run.
It's hard to really gauge this too. I think it's probably our last thing before we call it a night and get back to week because we got stuff to do after this.
I got about
week one.
I got about 15 articles on tap that I have an idea for. So
one thing that I'll say about this, and it's hard to quantify this, impossible to quantify it actually, but it looks like they are bought into what Aaron Glenn is selling. Yeah, they were bought into Saleh early too. I know that can change, but for right now, it seems like Aaron Glenn's got him in a good spot. I think, which not every new coach has done that. And this was a tough draw. Look at the situation: Aaron Rodgers, Steelers, Mike Tomlin. This is not a good way for Aaron Glenn to start the year. But I thought he performed very well. I think he's got the team in a better spot than I thought they were in right before the game.
You lose your best offensive lineman a few days before the game. You're starting a rookie tackle against TJ Watt. You're starting Tyler Johnson and Josh Reynolds at wide receiver. I think expectations were understandably low. I think they exceeded those expectations. And I know it's a loss, and I know we don't want to talk anymore about moral victories. I'm sick of it too. I really am. I really wish we were able to come on here and just talk about how the Jets somehow stole a win against a really good Steelers team. This felt like a very good football game between two very good football teams. I don't know if the Jets are going to look like this every game. Week to week in the NFL is weird. Shit happens. And I also, as I said, going into the year, I do not think the Jets have the depth to survive significant injuries. Some teams are probably better equipped for that. The Jets do not really have a particularly deep roster. If Garrett Wilson, God forbid, misses any time, or if Sauce Gardner, God forbid, misses any time, they are, pardon my French, they're fucked. They're fucked. Like if Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner are not playing, maybe if Breece Hall, if he's looking like this, is not playing. If Quinnen Williams misses any time, there are going to be major glaring weaknesses on this roster that teams can exploit. So understanding all of that, yeah, I don't know if the Jets are going to be a playoff team this year, but we see what the blueprint for success is. We saw it on offense, and I think the defense, if you can clean up those miscommunications, and if Brandon Stevens doesn't play like the worst corner in football, which that's a bigger ask, but if that doesn't happen, they're going to win some football games this year. They're going to beat teams like the Dolphins. They're going to beat teams like the Jaguars, the Saints. This is not a bottom 5 team in the NFL. This is probably, if everyone is healthy, I think a 7 or 8 win team. That's what I would predict if everyone is healthy. Knowing that injuries will happen, 6 wins, 7 wins seems like a reasonable prediction. But I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by what the coaching staff showed. I'm encouraged as well, not just by Tanner Engstrand. Shout out Chris Banjo, because I know Xavier Gibson had the fumbles. Outside of that,
it's a weird time to shout out Chris Banjo now, the special teams guy.
I thought the special teams looked like a well-oiled machine for the Jets. I thought their kick coverage was really good. I thought their kick blocking, their blocking on those returns was really good. Kene Nwangwu being out is really unfortunate because he is a game changer who I think he has the potential to single-handedly win games for the Jets this year. I truly believe that. So if he's out for any extended period of time, that's really unfortunate, especially because it looks like the backup option is Xavier Gibson. But yeah,
I think now it's Arian Smith because he was running back.
Maybe. But yeah, offensive coaching staff, extremely encouraged. Justin Fields, extremely encouraged. Running game, Breece Hall, everyone looked great there. Xavier Gibson, goodbye. Brandon Stevens,
I'm watching you. We need
you. We need you to be better than that. I have low expectations, but we need it.
And with that, we're going to call time on this first of the 2025 season game day reaction pod from the Jump Podcast. Not a win, but damn if it wasn't as good of a loss, as even of a loss against a very good opponent. Like, if this were against a bad team, I'd be really upset. But the fact it came against Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, the fact that it played out like this, I'm not too upset about it. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Jet Press Podcast. You know where to find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like the stream, subscribe. That's how you support our show. Justin, any final thoughts?
We'll end you with a little stat provided by Zach Rosenblatt. Armand Membu allowed 0 pressures on 25 pass blocking snaps. Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers also didn't allow any pressures. Fashanu, that's crazy. I would love to see the numbers on that. Apparently, Fashanu allowed 6 pressures.
That can't be right.
And John Simpson allowed 5 pressures.
That can't be right.
I don't know about that. I would love to see what PFF says, because I
would have said Fashanu gave up 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Not 6.
And I definitely wouldn't think, I also didn't think Membu allowed 0. I'm pretty sure he definitely allowed it.
The entire right side gave up some pressure.
Very interesting stats there. But
hey, you know what? 0 for Membu fits the agenda. So
right. I should have just not read the second half of the tweet. Should have left it at Membu. But yeah, man, happy to be back. Glad to be doing these post-game live streams. I missed this. I really did. Because I also, like, it wore on me, man. I know it wore on the Jets. I know it wore on
last year was,
like doing these post-game live streams after fucking rinsed, wash, repeat every single game, the same exact
even
game.
The first year with watching Wilson every week.
Yeah, we just went an hour. We went over an hour talking about things, and we did not run out of things to talk about. I know part of that's because it's week 1, but you know, there were times late last year where we were struggling. Like, it was like, how do you find new things to say? Like,
I'm running out of adjectives for upset.
Like, yeah, man, Jeff Ulbrich isn't a good head coach. Yeah, man, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be here next year. Yeah, man, the O-line is not very good. Like, the defense is struggling. Like, what else can we say at a certain point? Like, Malachi
Aaron Rodgers said something weird in the post game. We got to talk about that. Yeah,
let's talk about what Rodgers said about vaccines on McAfee. You know, like what analysis was there at a certain point? But I'm happy that we're back here, man. I'm happy that there's at least some encouraging takeaways. Let's hope that next week we're talking about an encouraging takeaway, and it's not a moral victory, and it's a Jets shocking victory over the Bills. But until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. By the way, I appreciate everybody who commented. There were a lot of comments. There were, once again, shout out to Austrian Jets fan who donated, I believe it was 10 gifted memberships. Shout out to all our members in chat. You guys are awesome, and you make this so much more enjoyable to come on here and talk and banter with you guys about the Jets. But anyway, you can follow Mike on Twitter at @Mike_Luciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin D. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. You could also become a membership today. It is 99 cents. And as you saw here in these hectic post-game streams, it is a great way to get your comments prioritized in chat. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and live immediately following every single Jets game. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys on Wednesday.
0-1, but about as good an 0-1 as you can have.